Hi, welcome to the Modern Renaissance Man. I'm Ben Copeland. This is a show about entrepreneurs, Renaissance people. However, for this episode, just like we did in the Thanksgiving episode, we're actually going to go back over some of the previous quarters and actually show you this time, instead of music, we're going to show you some of the previous soapboxes I did. Christmas is a time of issues, good ones and bad ones, people that are blessed and people who are not so blessed. And in doing the rehashing and reviewing to some of the soapboxes, I hope you'll think about some of the issues that are really important to me and to you, hopefully, and in our society. Remember the blessings of this season, whether what faith you particularly believe, and the idea of giving to others, and the blessings if you receive something too. Also, here we are in December, coming into the Christmas holiday. I'm sure the victims of Katrina are still having their problems, their anguishes. The devastation is there so bad. So don't forget them now that it's been a few months. This is the time that people really need support. It was when everything's quieted down, the news media is not paying any attention to them anymore. Remember our firefighters, remember our police officers, remember our ambulance personnel this time of year. These people basically no money and are out here trying to make sure that our lives are going to be better. And with that, basically we're going to turn over and hear several soaps for you, hopefully to get you thinking about what you can do and what things can change in our society. Daddy, look at me. Daddy, look at me. Daddy, look at me. And we see a little girl in different scenes. She's riding her bike, and you got the father sitting there. Daddy, look at me. And she's riding her bike. The father's still sitting there. And then at the end of the PSA, you see the young woman smoking a joint of marijuana, is what you assume. The thing that bothers me out of that PSA is I saw it the other day, and 5 minutes later I saw what looked like the exact same young woman in a bar, downing a beer, and basically looked like she was pretty much getting intoxicated. And what I want to know is, when you talk to your people, talk to your children about the use of drugs, the use of tobacco, talk to them about the use of alcohol. Alcohol is really one of the most dangerous substances, in my opinion, in the United States. So let's be fair across the board. If you're telling your children not to smoke, you're telling your children not to do drugs, be sure to tell them that alcohol is a drug and to be careful with it. If you're sitting there and you're having your alcoholic beverage and you're preaching to them about drugs, they're going to pick up on the inconsistency. I recently read a high school newspaper from Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, and in this newspaper, it was written by the students. And they said that approximately 75% of the students in the school drank regularly many nights a week, most of the time getting intoxicated. That disturbed me. What disturbed me even more is that there was a quote from the assistant principal at this school who said they didn't see that there was a problem at the school and they hadn't encountered any. And I felt like obviously this principal probably had not read these students' reports about the amount of alcohol uses they considered to be there. All the students at the school said it was a problem. So please, when you're talking about use of tobacco, when you're talking about the use of drugs, include the use of alcohol. Smoking kills smokers, but alcohol will kill others, and that's the way I feel. One of the hot topics today, excuse the pun in a way, is flag burning. There's a lot of people these days that are pushing to have a constitutional amendment preventing flag burning. When I think back over the history of most of the civilized countries, I start thinking about who are the countries that oppress their people. And I think of countries that are basically communist countries, the USSRs, the Chinas, the Koreas, Nazi Germany, fascist Italy during World War II. And what I think about when I think about those countries is one of the things that they did have in common, besides abusing a lot of their citizens, was that it was illegal to tarnish things like the flag of the country. And people would be put in jail. People would be put to death. So now when I hear somebody talking about a constitutional amendment to prevent flag burning, I want to ask them, do you fly your flag? I fly a flag at my house 365, 366 days a year. I'm proud to fly a flag. I've had flag poles in my yard that I put up myself to fly my flag because I'm a nationalist. I'm a Madisonian nationalist. I believe in a strong government. and a government represented by the people. I also believe in freedom of speech. Freedom of speech means basically that I have to be tolerant of people who may want to burn that flag. I have to be tolerant of people who are going to disagree with me. I may not like it, and I won't participate in it, but I have to be tolerant of it because this is the freedoms that we enjoy in the United States. So when you're thinking about dinking with the Constitution, particularly in the idea of stopping flag burning, think about what you're endorsing. You're endorsing our country to turn into a fascist or communist state where people are punished for free speech and free thought. You may not like it, but you need to learn with it so that you can have your free speech and your free thoughts. It only took us about 200 and something years to realize that the first part of the Constitution, we the people, applies to everybody. Think about it. And that's the way I feel. Tonight I'd like to ask us, where are the heroes? Where are the heroes on TV? I think about the children that I see these days and who they're basically holding up as heroes. Percentage-wise, I'm seeing that they're a Japanese cartoon person. You have the Yu-Gi-Ohs and the Pokemons, and they're cartoon heroes. Where are the real-life people? And that's not too bad for maybe some young children, but you never hear them talking about an adult. You know, where are the astronauts? We talk about sports people as heroes. Some of these people make $1 million a year. Next thing you know, they're getting caught into drug issues, abuse issues, gambling issues. Are these the people that really should be the heroes? Where are the heroes? One of the things that disturbed me a lot with our country being involved in other countries in military engagements, war, if you listen to President Bush, where are the soldiers on TV? I grew up during the Vietnam era, and basically every night there was a war correspondent who was in Vietnam, who was talking to soldiers and showing the people who were over there, whether or not you agreed with the reason, they were over there trying to defend the liberties of the United States. I see that likewise with the stuff that's going on in the Middle East. Whether you agree with it or not, why aren't we over there saying, you know, here's Jane or John soldier. You know, they're over here, they're making zip on the money. People are trying to kill them, and they're over there trying to serve this country. Why aren't we saying, thank you, you're a hero? No, instead we focus on a few that make some mistakes, and we build it up, and we try to tarnish the whole image of people who are over there who are willing to die to help the freedoms and the liberties that we enjoy. We're the heroes. When's the last time you walked up to an ambulance person, medic in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, and said, thank you for making no money and being willing to crawl into my car upside down on a rainy night and save me? We're are the people to thank those paramedics who are willing to risk life and limb to come out on a rainy, sleety, snowy night to haul you down a dangerous flight of stairs because you're having chest pains. When you see a person that works for the medic, or you see a person who works for any ambulance service, make a point to go up to them and say, you know, you're a hero. You know, you make little money. You know, the thrills are probably pretty good, but I know that the sadness and some of the grief that comes with it is not too good to try to deal with. And thank them for being a local hero. When you see a military person, thank them for being a hero. And I'm about ready to see our TV and our newspapers do it too. You know, our politicians haven't been the biggest heroes lately. Our sports people aren't the biggest heroes lately. We got everyday heroes out there. Go out and thank them. And that's the way I feel. I speako mucho. No. I speako muy. No. I speako un poco. And I have to tell you what, they're sort of hilarious. The Spanish people, the Hispanic people that I've dealt with are very understanding, very warm and friendly, and they laugh and they smile and they help me to learn some of my Spanish. But it's funny how next thing I know, I'm talking to a deaf Spanish person, you know, when I'm trying to explain to them mucho dinero, lots of money-o, and they're like, idiot-o, gringo. But anyway, I'm working on my Spanish, and I really appreciate the tolerance and the patience and the understanding of most of the Hispanic customers that I've worked with, and I look forward to learning more Spanish and actually being more fluent in it. What I'd like to do now is to basically go into what I consider a little more serious side of the show here for a moment, and it's called the soapbox. I'm a parent of an 11-year-old and a step-parent of an almost 21-year-old. They're two of the most important things, two of the most important people in my life. Quite often I have a problem understanding men who have children who don't place that value on them. Quite often I have problems with men, particularly who are financially successful and don't spend any time with their children. I came up with the phrase, deadbeat dads with money. I understand the importance of careers. I understand the importance of material items. I don't think they understand the importance of children. I like to ask them, why do you have children? If you don't want to spend time with them, if you're going to shift them off into daycares, if you're going to shift them off into preschools, if you're going on trips to make money, why are you having children? If you're not able to be a dad, why the choice? I don't understand that. One of my greatest honors that I bestowed myself was that I took an initiative when my stepson was around 9 years old, between 8 and 9. And through listening to some people, I came up with the idea of what was called Men's Night. Tuesdays, every Tuesday, we did Men's Night. When he was little, we would go grab something to eat, find a sort of a fun activity. Now, occasionally during that time frame, I was on call 24 hours a day with a particular company I worked with. Sometimes I hauled him in with me to work. Fortunately, that was workable. Sometimes we'd have a family sickness and we couldn't go out. Sometimes it'd be birthdays we'd want to share together. Every Tuesday, I finished an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree and missed very rare Tuesdays. He is important to me. That was important to me. When my daughter was 4 years old and I was working on my master's degree, she said, at work my daddy eats and studies. Basically, that was an indicator of what she saw me doing at home. I started daddy-daughter night. So on Tuesdays at that time, I was doing men's night with my stepson. And on Thursdays, I started daddy-daughter night with my daughter. And originally, it was things like I'd stop by the drugstore, pick up a little toy or something, bring it home. She probably had already eaten, and we'd spend time together. And this was not quality time. This was time, consistent time. My daughter is now 11. So since she was 4 years old, we've been doing daddy-daughter night every... With the recent events going on in the Middle East, watching the price of gasoline escalate, sort of takes a flashback for those of us that are a little higher in age to the 70s of when we had the gasoline shortages. At least that's what they said. What I would like to know is that why do cars still get basically the same gas mileage that they got in the 70s or worse? Everybody talks about how concerned we are of being dependent as a nation on crude oil, on gasoline. The politicians talk about our dependency on gasoline. What are they doing about it? I haven't seen nothing done about it. We're creating these huge SUVs that get terrible gas mileage. Oh, maybe they're safer. Well, let's slow down. You know, if you want to be a little safer, quit driving 70 miles an hour in a 55 zone. The speed in Charlotte is basically 50 miles an hour unless otherwise observed. I don't know if most people know that. That at least seems to be the case. I remember in the 70s, there was a company around here, Moody Brothers, Ralph Moody. He took a Ford Capri car in the 70s, turned it into a vehicle that got better than 80 miles to the gallon. 80 miles to the gallon. I don't know of any vehicle that's really doing that now. And this was a nice little sports car. One of the things they said in the paper that he quoted us is telling the local paper, I will never sell this design to anybody. This is going to Washington. This is going into production. And 2 years later, of course, it disappeared. Why isn't our government saying, you know, we can have fuel-efficient cars if we slow them down. We can have fuel-efficient cars if we make more efficient engines. Why are we only getting the 20 miles to the gallon vehicles out here? What's the government doing about this? Who's pulling the strings here? It doesn't sound like the interests of the American public with regard to gasoline. It sounds like somebody's making some big bucks, and that's okay for somebody. And the citizens are paying the bill. Write your politicians. Maybe they'll listen. Good luck. Maybe they will. We need vehicles in this country. If we want to eliminate dependency, eliminate the dependency. Give vehicles a good gas mileage. It's available. We can put people on the moon. Can't we get a car that gets 100 miles to the gallon? Yeah. Thank you, and that's the way I feel. The issue I'd like to address tonight sort of ties in something that happened recently. Now, we're actually filming this in August, and you're seeing this in October or November. How can a country allow a guy who's basically wanted in another country to phone in to sue somebody? I don't understand how Roman Polanski, who's wanted for a crime, gets to phone in. What happened to the being addressed by your accusers? I think the magazine, I guess it was Vanity Fair, but they must be sort of weenied out. I think if somebody said, you know, I'm accusing Ben of something, but now call in and complain, I don't agree with that. And what this leads me to is victims' rights. Where are the rights for the victim? You know, the state prosecutes, and the state reaps benefits. If somebody commits a crime and they charge them a big fine, who gets the money? The state, the government. Where are the victims' rights? You know, we have the ACLU out there, and they're promoting criminal rights. So I don't think we ought to be beating up our prisoners in prisons. Yeah, don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. They shouldn't be allowed to be able to log on to the internet just any old time and file lawsuits. They shouldn't be able to make big profits writing books without money going in restitution to the victims. Now, if you do the time, you do the crime, you need to pay back. Part of paying back is for what you've done to somebody. I think victims need to be looked at a little bit more. We need an ACLU protecting the victims. You know, when somebody steals somebody, or somebody kills somebody, somebody hurts somebody, where's the victim restitution? They have to file a criminal suit. There's nobody actually to stand up for them. They have to hire their own lawyer because the government doesn't even stand up for them. Where's the victim's rights? If you've been abused by somebody and you haven't had restitution, call your politicians. Maybe they'll listen. That's the only way it's going to get done. Get some laws here to help the victims of the crimes. Let's don't just help the criminals. Rehabilitation is basically making restitution for what you've done to somebody. And that's the way I feel. Tonight I'd like to talk a little bit of something about a little more political than just personal. I want to talk about global competition. And that's sort of out of line with generally what I talk about, which are generally more people issues. But this to me is a people issue, global competition. I was reading in the paper recently about the number of doctoral engineering degrees that are being awarded to outside countries from the United States. And what I heard was somewhere in the neighborhood of 60% of the degrees are being awarded to people who are leaving this country to go back to their home country. Another thing I heard that finally I heard something decent out of a politician, I won't mention her name because I don't really want to go there, was the issue of giving free education to illegal immigrants. I believe in immigrants joining this country. That's what it's based on. But if they're illegal, I'm sort of curious as to why we're paying for their college education when we're not paying for all the students' educations. In the global economy that this country is now getting involved with, we have to be more creative than we ever were. Competition with countries, particularly the communist countries, is a losing battle. They can pay wages that basically hardly even would buy us lunch for a day, let alone what the average American needs to make in the course of a week to a month. So we're not going to even be able to compete. And we have companies, General Electric is one of them, and some others are going into communist countries, and they're putting in facilities. Microsoft is another one. They're building their facilities. They're exploiting the cheap labor, okay, that are available in those countries. You will not be able to compete with that type of labor. I'd like to know what is going to be done about it in this country. Production's leaving with these type of companies. They're taking the production to these other countries. How do we compete? Look at the number of goods. I've been watching occasionally the trade deficit. I don't think we're faring very well in the trade deficit. Jobs are leaving. We have CEOs of companies, they're basically looking at fast food profits. They're not looking at long term. This country used to be built on visionaries. We have heads of companies that are basically looking at next quarter's returns. They'd like to have a hamburger and some fries with their profits. I'm not impressed with that type of leadership. I've seen some companies, unfortunately I've been exposed to a company here recently that I'm very impressed with the leadership. They seem to have some visionaries that look beyond 2 or 3 months of work. Where are our heroes for our children at? If you look at the television children these days, we have cartoons that aren't even made in the United States anymore. I don't even think we can compete on the cartoon level anymore. So we're losing animation. We're losing children's entertainment. It's all being produced out of foreign countries. The thing that really concerns me probably out of all this the most is that we're giving up on a lot of young people who could contribute to the vision and improving this country. The global deficit is going to get worse as long as education is not provided for our young people in schools. I'm actually in favor of socialized education. I think anybody who can make a decent grade and doesn't flunk out deserves a college education. I think if they make a good enough education 4 years, they should be able to go on to the next level and to the next level. We need to have our master's degrees and our doctorate degrees awarded to people who are residents and citizens of the United States. That's what I like to say. We need the vision in this country in business that small business entrepreneurs have. They're thinking long term. They're not thinking next week, next month, or a couple months. They're thinking about what they're going to be doing in 5 to 10 years. That's what the way it used to be in business in this country. We need to see some big CEOs and some of these big Harvard and Yale MBA people thinking about the future. Step down and pretend they're a small business person and not looking at the short-term profits. The fact that they can lay people off real quick to make some profits. We need some vision. We need that small business vision in bigger levels. And that's the way I feel. At 19 years old, I became a paramedic in the city of Charlotte. And while I was hearing things of other people having battles and skirmishes outside of this country, particularly in the military, I saw a lot of battles and skirmishes in the neighborhoods of this city. For the next 4 years between here and Honolulu, Hawaii, I worked as a paramedic. One of the things that probably disturbed me the most when I think of that job was not the trauma, not broken arms, not broken legs, not car wrecks. The thing that probably disturbed me and still bothers me to this day was abuse. Some of the things that I saw was women who were abused, significantly physically. I saw children who were abused to the point of death. There's not many things in my life that I have zero tolerance for, basically pretty much none except for this. I have pretty much zero tolerance for child abuse, child molesters, and people who abuse women and children, physically particularly. Mental abuse is bad enough. That can require lots of therapy and problems to actually get a handle on that. But the idea of harming a child is beyond me. I guess in my opinion it would be that if you're a child murderer, you should be out of this world. I see no use. Now, I know that probably differs to some people's opinions, but I cannot understand that or reconcile that. When I hear about not going into countries because we don't need to be in another country, because of we need to be a peaceful people. Well, some people are really sick. One of the countries that we're involved with right now has had a leader who basically tortured and abused women and children. I have no problem with our country being over there and eliminating that leader. People who abuse women and children, I think, should basically be removed from society, and I believe to the full extent. I cannot understand a person going to jail for smoking a marijuana cigarette for 5 to 10 years, an abuser goes in for 5 to 10 months. Think about it, and that's the way I feel. Well, that was a lot of sort of editorial stuff. I'm glad you stayed with us, hopefully. I didn't switch channels too much during the midst of those soapboxes. Once again, my name is Ben Copeland. I'm the Modern Renaissance Man. We're wrapping up this season, 2005, fourth quarter, with the Soapbox Show. I look forward to seeing you in 2006 for a new season. Trip Rogers, my musical co-host. Hopefully we'll still have Jeff Chester joining him, and a bunch of entrepreneurs and Renaissance people. If you know a Renaissance person, please email me. Let me know their name, and we'll see if we can get them on the show and learn more about them. Once again, I'd like to thank my volunteers. The show would not be possible without them. I'd like to thank Dano, man. You're the director, for helping me out with this. Kate Copeland, you're my best girl. Jennifer, for doing the green room management. And once again, we come on the first and third Friday of each and every month here on Public Access Channel 21. Thank you, and have a great evening, and have a happy new year.
Hey, Trip.
Yeah, come on.
Wow, this thing's totally cool. Hey, Dad, thanks for letting me use the host cam for a while.
This is my daughter. This is
Okay.